Alaska's electoral politics are the least predictable in the country. We have defied expectations since we were first admitted as a state in 1959, when most political pundits thought Alaska would become dependably Democratic. Good evening, I'm Dorene Lorenz.
And I'm Maria Athens. Our residents have voted Republican in every national race since. Alaskan elections are hard for outsiders to figure out and full of surprises for locals as well. This is our countdown of the 5 most unpredictable finishes in our polling history.
They were the kind of men that legends are made of, greater than giants, political titans, and their influence in the development of our state cannot be overstated.
Erstwhile Republican Wally Hickel slugged it out against Democrat Bill Egan for over 20 years, and the impact of those punches is still felt in Alaskan political races today.
A son of Valdez, Bill Egan served as the state's first governor, and he, along with another Valdez son, current Governor Bill Walker, are the only Alaskan born to hold that office.
Bill Egan was a clever guy. You know, he was tenacious and probably the epitome of, all politics is local.
Egan was very level-headed. He knew every Alaskan. He had that reputation of meeting him on the street, and he would pick up on the last conversation you had with him, even if it was months since you saw him last. He always had time for you.
Egan crafted the archetype of the ideal Alaskan Democrat through his service. He was elected to be mayor of Valdez while serving one of 3 terms in the Territorial House of Representatives, eventually becoming Speaker. Egan led the Territorial Senate in drafting the Alaska Constitution, then, as governor, administered the transition from territory to state.
True Alaskan, very, very decisive. In fact, he was sort of the boogeyman when it came to the Republican Party because he was spending money. We had very little money in those days.
We kind of felt like Bill Egan over time became kind of like part of our extended family. He was a guy that you could go to on road problems, on almost any problem you had out there, because you felt like you were underneath part of his flock.
I remember the big argument in Fairbanks. He wanted to expand the airport road, and of course everybody on our side of the aisle said, we don't need a 4-lane road and that sort of thing, and bless his heart, he insisted, and he built actually 6 lanes now, maybe more than that.
I respected Bill Egan. Bill came up, small town guy, but I found him to be a man of integrity who loved this state.
Egan was exactly the right man, in the right office, at the right time, when Alaska needed vision and grit to rebuild after the 1964 earthquake.
Many have said that it is nothing short of a miracle that the casualties were not far, far greater. I can think of no finer tribute to those who are gone than to what some would call another miracle. A miracle of will and energy and faith that will make this great land of ours better than the one we knew before.
A year later, in '66, Alaska turned a corner and another political titan stepped forward to take the lead, Wally Hickel.
Wally was in a different flavor of rough and tumble. He had a rough side of him that many people say that it was a good thing that the press was never sitting in his office when he was holding some of his candid staff discussions with some colorful language. But that's all right. I mean, it was the prize fighter, the boxer that was in him.
I really have a tremendous admiration for Wally Hickel. He was a visionary. He was a kind of beat your fist on the table, get the job done kind of person.
He had a tremendous ego, and I think you need a strong ego to put yourself forth in the political world.
Bill Egan still holds the record as Alaska's longest-serving governor, nearly 12 years over 3 non-consecutive terms. As much as Alaskans had come to love and appreciate the homespun charm of Egan, whose campaign slogan was "Born in Alaska, raised in Alaska, schooled in Alaska," there was one little problem that the election of 1966 turned into a big problem for Egan: term limits.
Egan had fudged to get to run that 3rd time. He was in the hospital, so he wasn't sworn in until something like 8 days after the deadline.
Be who you are. You might win and you might lose, but be who you are. because that's what people want. Bill Egan was that kind of person. He was the real deal.
So the Constitution said you can have 2 full terms. So his first term wasn't full, so technically he had the right to run again. But the people really didn't like it too well. They liked Wally.
In his maiden run for any political office, Walter Hickel knocked out Egan, falling just 3 votes short of an overall majority.
They thought, hey, that's fudging. If you want to come back as governor, you go out for 1 term and then come back again. You don't cheat on the Constitution. And so he lost really for that reason.
It wasn't the last the great land heard of Bill Egan. In the next gubernatorial election cycle, Egan ran again, and Alaskans happily gave him back the governor's office.
He saw the vision for the future.
His ability to be the real deal, authentic.
I think we were lucky to have him.
Welcome to Alaska Hand, Elbow, Shoulder, Alaska's premier upper extremity surgical specialist. Dr. Michael McNamara is proud to welcome Dr. Kevin Paisley, one of Alaska's only shoulder fellowship trained surgeons. Alaska Hand, Elbow, Shoulder offers minimally invasive orthopedic procedures to both relieve pain and restore function.
Just days before the 2005 Iditarod, I mangled my right hand, but AK Hess got me back on the trail in no time.
Visit us at akhanddoc.com.
Do you know the secret to a happy home in these modern times? It's a housewife who's in control of the finances.
Actually, any wife, husband, or human person can use Progressive's Name Your Price tool to take control of their budget.
And while the men do the hard work of making money, she can get all the car insurance options her little heart desires.
Or the women might do the hard work of making money.
Women don't have jobs.
Is this guy for real?
Modernizing car insurance
That's enough out of you. The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
Where is your husband?
At Alaska Gear and Transmission Service, it's not about how many cars we service, but the quality of work we put into each vehicle. For over 40 years, along with a transmission exchange, we've been helping Alaskans get their cars back on road and back to that Alaskan way of life. We service foreign and domestic vehicles and handle various issues, including automatic and manual transmissions, electrical, brakes, suspension, and clutches. Plus, we even have tires. We're on Boniface near the Glen Highway. Stop by today or make an appointment. Alaska Gear and Transmission Service, plus so much more. Say goodbye to missing teeth and loose dentures. Start smiling with confidence again. McKinley Dental is a leader in cosmetic dental restoration. We offer painless oral sedation and make sure your new smile is better than it's ever been. Dental implants feel just like your real teeth. Get back to eating the food you love and start enjoying life again. When did you last eat what you wanted? Call today to receive your free exam along with payment options. McKinley Dental. We'll give you a reason to smile.
In the next election, Egan found himself in another difficult race and in uncharted waters. Hickel tried to run for the office, but couldn't get his name on the Republican ticket.
The ballot got expanded by a third-party challenger that set Egan's ambitions tits over tea kettle and sparked an idea that Hickel would later explore. Jay Hammond was one of Alaska's most respected statesmen.
Jay Hammond was an amazing person from a lot of aspects. He was kind of the same thing, you know, I'm just going to go do it, and, you know, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, I'm sorry.
Hammond set a romantic archetype for the modern-day sourdough, or, as he referred to himself, a bushrat.
As the head of state, there was nobody better than Jay Hammond, nor will there ever be anybody better than Jay Hammond. He looked like what you expected, and he was the real deal, you know. He flew his own Super Cub. He much rather would live out in Lake Clark in the homestead that he cleared himself than hang around in Washington, D.C. He looked fabulous in plaid shirts. You know, he really chopped his own wood. He was like out of Alaska Magazine.
Had a devilish sense of humor. Lots of friends, well-loved and well-respected. Jay was such a good friend. It's even hard to talk about him. I still miss him. I love his wife. And he came in, and as far as I know, He was everything he purported to be.
Although he never warmed up to the idea of being a politician, he often said they couldn't be trusted, Hammond spent a considerable amount of time serving the public in elected office.
But I feared almost any idiot who ran for public office might get elected. Little did I think I'd go on to prove my point 10 times. 3 runs for the House, 2 for the Senate, 3 for borough mayor, and 2 for governor. Few were more surprised than I when in 1973 I got mousetrapped into running for governor.
Paid for by the Hammond for Governor Committee.
And certainly no one was more surprised than I when I won.
Hammond made a key choice in determining who would run his campaign. He selected a man whose ethic would change the direction of how Alaskan elections would be run for decades. Bill McConkey.
He was kind of one of the first that introduced take the gloves off campaigning in Alaska, where it was a gentleman's sport. People had a lot more dignity for one another, and they treated each other with a little more respect. But it got a little rough and tumble when McConkey kind of kicked the doors back and said, hey, let's do it another way.
McConkey was in to win, and hints of how far he would be willing to go started to surface with the Hammond campaign.
He was strong, he was opinionated.
He was a force to be reckoned with.
Another character took his place on the stage, a plain-spoken miner who became a charismatic icon of local politics, Joe Vogler.
He was a very interesting guy, and his view of the world was authentically held. He believed very deeply in his particular view of the world. He was not cynical in any way.
You say the hell with them, and you renounce allegiance, and you pledge your efforts, your effects, your honor, your life to Alaska. That's how I do. I'm an Alaskan, see. And if they don't like it, they know where they can go. The fires they hail are frozen glaciers compared to my hatred for the American government.
He authentically cared about Alaska. He had his view of what was in the state's best interest, which didn't line up with many sane people, but he held that view in good faith. And he certainly, I would assume, didn't think that Bill Egan or Jay Hammond were even close in terms of having the same policy views about Alaska's relationship with the federal government that he did, so he ran.
Vogler created the Alaska Independence Party, drawing support from those who felt the vote for statehood was a fraud.
He thought Alaska basically should, at least operationally, be its own country and should not have to kowtow to the government.
He attracted a following that still exists. I mean, the precursors to the gun-toting Tea Party militias. That was Vogler's crowd. He'd always attract votes away from traditional Republican side, which made it harder for Republican candidates sometimes.
Vogler peeled off nearly 5% of the vote. 4,770 Alaskans checked his name on their ballot. It was a tight race, and with such a narrow margin, every ballot counted. The close race forced a recount to verify the results. In the end, Jay Hammond took the seat.
I just think that Jay Hammond got elected by 100 votes because at the end, it was a very difficult decision for many Alaskans like myself. We're born and raised here, and we had a new voice, a new person who wanted to kind of, I'll call it, kick out the old guard and bring in a new movement. And that's what we saw in Jay, and he proved out to be just that in the end.
Close races were a problem that Hammond couldn't shake, and there were whispers that having Bill McConkey on his side helped tip the balance. Collective memory suggests during Hammond's 1998 primary against Hickel, McConkey was found to be driving around with a couple of ballot boxes in the trunk of his car. Hammond was trailing. McConkey turned the ballots in, and Hammond won the primary election by less than 100 votes.
Who knows? I remember there was, elections were a lot looser then. I mean, there was election ballot boxes in the trunks of cars that people have forgotten about, you know. I mean, it was pretty crazy. I mean, you know, we've gotten a lot better, no question about it.
I believe it was 98 votes found or 2 bags of votes found in a dumpster behind the elections office.
The days and the rumors of what and how people won, there was election challenges all the time because of that. You know, it was pretty wild. It was the Wild West.
Well, there was always all kinds of accusations flying around about ballot boxes in a truck. In my recollection and in my involvement, that certainly wasn't true. What there were votes that came in late from villages, and the Hickle people went nuts because in some villages, Jay Hammond was getting 95% of the vote. Well, he was supposed to.
Not accepting defeat, Hickle launched a write-in campaign for the general election.
We had to beat Hickle 3 times. We had to beat him in the primary, we had to beat him in a write-in, we had to beat him in court.
I think Wally Hickle was a legend in his own mind who viewed himself as legendary in complete good faith. He really thought he was as great a man as he thought himself to be.
Hickle's former Commissioner of Natural Resources, Tom Kelly, ran a well-financed campaign as an independent. AIP entered Don Wright, and Chancey Croft topped the D ticket in the crowded field.
The biggest decision in politics is who gets to make the decisions. That's the most important one.
With so many choices, Hammond squeaked in.
Maybe almost too good to be true, but
I can remember somebody in the Hickle campaign said there'll never be an honest election in Alaska as long as Bill McConkey lives here. And that was because of the absentee ballot program we ran. I mean, when the absentee ballots came in, we cleaned their clocks.
It's been over 40 years since Jay Hammond was in office, an advocate of environmental stewardship and the father of the Alaska Permanent Fund. Hammond's legacy still pays dividends.
Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Trisha Yearwood. If you love comfort like I do, comfort food, comfortable jeans, comfortable furniture, you're going to love Trisha Yearwood Home Collection. It's simple, honest, comfortable furniture, designed and crafted to feel like home. This week, with any purchase from my new collection, get a free copy of my latest cookbook, Trisha's Table. The Trisha Yearwood Home Collection, a recipe for comfortable living. See my Trisha Yearwood Home Collection at Bailey's Furniture.
Life can be hard enough when you're feeling good. When you get sick, why add to the stress? At Health North Family Medicine, no matter your age, you get the attention you need and the care you deserve at a cost you can afford. Your road to wellness just got easier. Chronic disease management, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, school, sport, and CDL physicals. The staff at North Family Medicine is here to help you become a healthier, happier person. Health North Family Medicine. Happy families start here.
Well, howdy, I'm Nick Worthington, Ford Giant, Worthington Ford. And right now, you can get friends and neighbors pricing automatically on nearly every new vehicle in stock. That's the official pricing set by Ford. Take a look. Here's a new Ford Escape, get up to $4,000 off. Here's a new Ford Expedition, get up to $6,000 off. And here's a new Ford F-150, get up to $7,000 off. Friends and neighbors pricing, plus make no payments until next year. It's Giant Worthington Ford.
Football season is here, and the Peanut Farm is Alaska's football headquarters. Join us every Monday, Thursday, and Sunday night for the chance to win cool prizes from Cindy's Lingerie, Body Piercing Unlimited and Tattoo, Total Truck, Lithia Hyundai, and Coors Light. Come hang out with the Coors Light girls. We'll be serving up Coors Light specials all season long. The Peanut Farm is the best place to watch the game with your friends and family. If we can't get your game, no one can. Football 7 days a week, only at the Peanut Farm. Please drink responsibly.
They were both unlikely candidates who moved to Alaska to work in education. One was from Fort Yukon, the other a child of Croatian immigrants.
It was the fall of 1972, Don Young's first congressional campaign, and Congressman Nick Begich's last.
He knew Don Young. You know, Don Young was a member of the Alaska Education Association, and together they'd gone to the Seward conference in Seward back in the early 60s. They were roommates.
Both Nick Begich and Don Young started their political career in the Alaska State Legislature.
Nick Begich and I were freshmen together. God, he could dance.
I served in the state legislature. We were both teachers. We were both in the courtroom at the same time. Because state said under Hickle said we couldn't be school teachers getting state money and legislative money at the same time. And we took it all the way to the Supreme Court. Ted Stevens was my attorney.
And so, and they lost that lawsuit, so they had to give up a job. Everyone assumed they'd give up the higher paying education job not the lower paying political jobs, because the legislature didn't pay anything back then. Both kept the legislative jobs and gave up the education jobs.
In 1970, Democrat Nick Begich ran for the seat Congressman Howard Pollock left vacant when he made an unsuccessful Alaska gubernatorial bid. Begich beat out Republican banker Frank Murkowski, who would later hand his U.S. Senate seat over to his daughter Lisa, and win his Alaska gubernatorial race with the highest percentage of any candidate in Alaskan history up to that point. 2 years after serving in the U.S. House of Representatives, Nick Begich found himself being challenged by a former brother-in-arms, Don Young.
It's one of those unique things that I was unhappy in the state Senate, extremely so. And I came home one day and my wife said, "You're not happy we're getting out of this job." And I said, "I've never quit anything in my life." And she said, "We're not going to quit. We'll run for Congress. We'll never win."
Don Young was not a threat. Don Young knew he was not a threat. Don Young recognized that he was something of a sacrificial lamb at that time.
I often get a kick out of the fact that when Don ran initially, he was a sacrificial lamb. We looked at it as a sacrificial lamb from the Republican Party. Nobody ever expected him to win. At least certainly not any of the Republicans, particularly the prominent Republicans, because this upstart from Fort Yukon would dare to challenge somebody out there. They just kind of put him up as a figurehead.
You know, you think about what's going on and the chance of me being elected from Fort Yukon, get out of here.
Nick Begich had his foot out of the door of the House and his eye on a chair in the U.S. Senate. Knowing the game of musical chairs was about to start, Young decided to take a chance.
Well, I ran against him because he's running, very frankly, for Mike Gravel's seat.
And so he had polled for the 74 race and anticipating whether or not, Mike Gravel was vulnerable, and he was. I still have the polling data. He did that poll in, I think it was the middle of 72 while he was running for U.S. House.
Don Young wasn't the politically correct ideal of a candidate for U.S. Congress.
How would I describe Don Young? Well, at times improbable. Because he's very outspoken.
Don is Don. I think that Don may have, at the beginning, had some rough edges. He probably still has a few rough edges, but that's all right. That's Don.
I did what I always do. I just went full bore, and my numbers started going up. And people forget this is in 1972, and it was a presidential election year, and this state was a Nixon state.
He has kind of a homespun quality about him, and a reputation for telling it like it is, whether it is like it is or it's like it is to Don.
My numbers started going up, and Nick, who's a friend of mine, called me and said, "I don't know what you're doing, but I have to beat you because I'm going to run for Mike Gravel's seat." And in 74, and I said, "You're not going to beat me. It's going to be close." He said, "Well, I can't afford that." And unfortunately, he got on the airplane and flew with Hale Boggs, and we never did find him.
Congressman Nick Begich's plane disappeared during a flight between Anchorage and Juneau. It's been over 30 years, and the wreckage has never been found.
It's one of those quirks of history. You never know how a thing will turn out, especially in Alaska.
Lo and behold, when the disappearance occurred of Nick and Don Johns, who's the pilot on the plane, another friend of mine, none of us really believed that he was going to be gone for a long time. It was hard for many of us to accept. I think it was hard for Alaskans to accept.
He didn't think Don was a threat then. The primary numbers, and back then we had an open primary, clearly indicated my dad won 70-some% of the vote. Some districts he won 95% of the vote, but pretty good for a dead man.
The election went on, and lo and behold, Nick prevailed. I think because most people didn't want to accept the fact that they were gone forever.
When a plane goes down for 2 weeks, it was October 16th, when the plane disappeared, and, the weather was turning already. By the end of October, snow everywhere. The odds of anybody surviving at that point was pretty clear.
Governor Bill Egan declared Nick Begich to serve. Alaska's only congressional seat was once more in play.
I think in his campaign, they knew it was not going to be a successful campaign, but they had to put someone up. So Don was kind of the chosen one, in a way. He had to run. Obviously, he did not win on election night or even further down, and it took a special election to get him elected.
Fortune stepped in the way it does sometimes. Ill fortune for my dad, good fortune perhaps for Don. And while he lost the election anyway to my father, who was deceased, he did win the special election over Imalnati by right around 2,000 votes. and so ended up where he is today, which is probably where my dad would have been today.
I had no idea to ever be a congressman. That wasn't the goal. We were trying to get out of politics, and that's been 44 years.
If fortune's kaleidoscope hadn't shifted so drastically, the career of Nick Begich would have been easy to plot.
He certainly had intentions of running for the U.S. Senate at the time. Obviously, we know that he disappeared. He never ran for the U.S. Senate. Otherwise, history may have been much different than it is today.
His ability to bring people together from all political spectrums was pretty clear. You know, you don't win 75% in Alaska as a Democrat because you don't make decisions. You do it because you do.
Had Begich eventually taken the Senate seat, who could say if Don Young would have found his chair in the House and left his signature as an indelible mark?
There isn't many, the generation following us, that haven't known him as the congressman for Alaska. My children, who are 43 years old, have never had another congressman. They don't know another congressman. I mean, there is such thing as another congressman, they would say?
He's a fighter for Alaska, there's no question about it. He is definitely a beat-the-table kind of guy and say what he feels.
Don Young is a cantankerous, decent human being. We disagree on so many different fundamental issues, but we both love Alaska. And I gotta tell you, that man loves this state.
He's certainly gets reelected and reelected, and just had some real competition over the years.
I don't know how he does it, but he's my man.
At Quality Auto Sales, we do things differently. We let our top quality vehicles and great prices speak for themselves.
If you're in the market for a truly exceptional used vehicle, start by visiting our website at qualityautoak.com. Did you know that we buy vehicles too? We pay top dollar on the spot, whether it's paid for or not.
So come into Quality Auto Sales, 73rd and the Old Seward Highway for a hassle-free car shopping experience.
Quality Auto Sales, a simpler way to shop, a better way to buy.
I can make that shot, Daddy.
Hi, I'm Sabrina from Vito's Auto Sales. You may have seen me grow up throughout the years on my dad's car commercials. We are locally owned and have been in business for over 25 years. We stand by what we sell and offer a limited warranty on most vehicles. At Vito's, we specialize in bruised credit, no credit, and good credit. With over $2 million in inventory in 2 locations, you'll be driving your car home today. Vito's Auto Sales.
Where you're treated like family.
Here's a few reasons I hear people say why they don't go to church. I can't go to church until I get my life together.
Church is how I'm getting my life together.
All they care about is my money.
They care about me, not my money.
Is there some sort of dress code?
Yes, the code is wear clothing.
But what's in it for me?
Well, we can grow closer to God.
And to each other. So please, come to the crossing where nobody's perfect.
Where it is okay to not be okay. Really.
When you've got the best ingredients, the pizza comes out right. That's just what we're cooking for every appetite.
Call Sicily's now and ask for their current special. 2 medium, 2-topping pizzas for just $11.99 each. Or order online at sicilyspizza.com.
Just call Sicily's Pizza. 333-8000.
A write-in candidate on a third-party ticket, a campaign that was weeks long, and a state governor's race. Seriously, get real.
Those who would laugh off such a campaign have not studied Alaskan politics. We've had several races where third-party candidates have captured the day, but few divided voters, as much as when Wally Hickel went rogue. The year was 1990. Tony Knowles had termed out as Anchorage mayor and secured the Democratic slot on the ballot.
He was always more of the clean-cut Ivy League side of the ad hoc movement than some of the rest of the gang who I'd call him more the let's get high and have a good time crowd.
He had a lot of energy, and and he had open door where people come every month and they could complain to him, sit around a table and yell at him about whatever they wanted. You know, that was before the days of talk radio and all this stuff, right? I mean, Herb Shanlin was the talk radio of the day. That was it.
Nobody agrees with everyone all of the time. What makes Alaskans different is the way we respect people who tell us exactly where they stand. Because respect and trust aren't about agreeing. They're about knowing someone is telling you the truth.
I value people that care about what they're doing, if those are the things that benefit Alaska. And I think Tony cared about Alaska and was a real Alaskan. I think that I would have liked to run in the race I had against Tony. He ran, but he was never personal. There was no personal animosity between us. I hope Tony would say the same thing, that there's mutual respect.
Anchorage's Arlis Sturgielewski had been a perennial member of the state Senate when she won the Republican nomination for the top of the ticket.
She also was very instrumental, and she knew her role was not a Republican woman, but a person who served in politics. That's a woman that could influence other women, and she was an incredible public policy person.
That wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but fortunately, quite a few.
She was always a voice of reason, still is to this day.
I just had no fear. I had a great deal of self-confidence, I think, and that was the difference.
This idea that we have to work together if we're going to build a better state. It's a vision that really comes from those Alaskans who grew up in the politics of the 60s before we had wealth. And she grew up in that politics.
Her view was, we need to get stuff done. And she came from sometimes the coalition politics of Democrats and Republicans working together, more of what's needed today than ever before. She was a master of that.
If you go into politics, you have to be in the game. And one of the things I've always prided myself on, maybe it's because I don't like personal pain, is not to be bitter about stuff. Stuff happens. And if you're going to play the game, you have to be in the game.
Sturgielewski had an unsuccessful run for the seat in 1986, but it was nothing like the 1990 race. No one, not even the candidates themselves, saw this coming.
That kind of politician can change a state. She's the one person who probably should have been governor of Alaska that never was. And her time probably was 1990, but Walter Hickel took that from her when he jumped ticket and pulled the first switch.
I had 14 years in the state Senate, and the only competition I had was in the very first race when a local politician who had lots of money and was so impatient with a woman running against him.
It was an issue Sturgielewski would face again. Inanna's Jack Coghill had won the bottom of the Republican ticket. Coghill was typical of the Republicans of the interior, a very traditional and exceptionally conservative statesman.
One of the founders of our country, very dedicated Alaskan.
He's an incredible individual.
Jack Coghill is, an old-timer that has his finger on the pulse of virtually everything that's going on in the state.
After a spirited discussion with Sturgielewski about her progressive stances on abortion and capital punishment, at the midnight hour, Coghill bolted from the ticket.
It's a sad thing because I always respected Jack, but I think the idea here again of a woman in that spot.
The man who was known as Mr. Republican went in cahoots with Joe Vogler of the Alaska Independence Party and pledged his loyalties to AIP.
Coghill abandoned Arlis Sturgielewski to do that, which was really tragic and a betrayal of the highest order in politics.
Coghill talked to former Governor Hickel into running at the top of the AIP ticket. Although Hickel had common ground with the AIP in fighting federal environmental restrictions, Hickel was one of the most influential historical proponents of statehood and was at direct philosophical odds with the AIP's foundation party plank of secessionism. But, as they say, Hickel held his nose and joined AIP, a move that snapped the heads of Republicans, Democrats, and the AIP party members who eventually tried to boot him out.
He had no choice because when he decided to run, it was too late to file as anything.
That was not one of the easiest times, but I think again that he had a very large ego, and I'm not sure I was not close to Wally, and he thought he could do a good job, and so his hat was in, and yes, it was confusing.
Wally Hickel arrived in Alaska with just the change in his pocket, a hard work ethic, and the ability to never ask why. But why not? Hickel left his first political position, governor of the state of Alaska, when he was appointed to be Secretary of the Interior under the Nixon administration.
Very, very focused, got things done, and I often say that's what we've lacked in a lot of our governors, that would do something positive and do something physically, not just talk about it.
I'll tell you what, he was a good governor, and a lot of people are shocked when I say that, but he governed well.
Interestingly, the Federal Resources Czar was not an office that Hickel desired. Reports are he initially rejected the appointment, but Nixon advised him that it wasn't an offer he could refuse. It's been reported that Hickel said he cried afterwards, then announced he would be leaving the governorship to go to D.C.
Not all the time was it an easy road for him, but he would do it. And I think that was kind of the Alaska spirit.
Although he settled down in the harness and was very effective in setting federal policies that were beneficial to the last frontier, Hickel didn't last long in the post.
When he resigned from the Nixon administration, over the Vietnam War, that was a big deal. That was something that Alaskans first were excited to have the Secretary of Interior that had so much control over the state, but he decided to resign based on a principle. And I think that says a lot about who he was and what he did to help create kind of an environment for Alaska.
Republicans like that are hard to find now. People who are willing to talk to the other side. It's too bad, too, because that was a key part of what made Alaska great.
Hickel wanted to finish what he started in the governor's mansion. The Alaska he envisioned was a bright star for the world to steer their course by, so he set full sail to get back in the office.
Wally Hickel ran a very good second campaign.
He was a spoiler for Tony Knowles and Arliss Sturgeluski.
Yes, indeed.
The key ad that Walter Hickel ran was 2 peas in a pod, comparing Tony Knowles and Arliss Sturgeluski as the same people because they're both progressives.
The strategy was brilliant. Knowles and Sturgeluski fought over the same votes, while Hickel picked up everyone else.
I don't know whether Wally and Hickel and I can get along, but his campaign stuff makes more sense than the other two.
One of the reasons that Wally Hickel was so effective is he was a populist. I mean, the people knew that he was concerned about their welfare. And that's one of the things that's missing from today's politics. People try to act as if they're concerned about the people's welfare. The rhetoric is there, but the action never really reflects that.
Built the Hickel Highway, we did it with the bulldozer. I was there when he started. To me, that was a great stroke of business. That's what we ought to be doing today, is a physical presence of the state's rights.
He would do unorthodox things that I think people were like, you can't do that, and he would say, why not? And I think people would then scratch and said, yeah, why not? And then he'd go do it.
Well, he did it all right. Much to the chagrin of both the Republicans and the Democrats, Hickel defied all odds and took back the governorship.
We had a 3-way race and we got hurt.
Combined, Tony and Arliss got 61% of the vote, 39% to Walter Hickel, and he ends up winning because that's the way the math works.
I didn't make it, but I'm glad I ran. I have no bitterness about it.
Probably should have won the race. When she ran, she'd have been a good governor.
Even without the legacy she would have created as the first female governor of the state of Alaska, Arliss Sturgeluski still left a high mark.
Arliss was what I consider an incredible trailblazer. There was a lot of women trailblazers, but she was one of those that no nonsense. She became a powerhouse that both Democrats and Republicans seeked for advice, partnerships, opinions, political support.
If all the people that I meet that say, oh, Arliss, I voted for you, had really voted for me, I would have been elected governor.
Ted Stevens versus Mark Begich after the break.
Well, howdy, I'm Nick Worthington, Ford Giant Worthington Ford. And right now, you can get friends and neighbors pricing automatically on nearly every new vehicle in stock. That's the official pricing set by Ford. Take a look. Here's a new Ford Escape, get up to $4,000 off. Here's a new Ford Expedition, get up to $6,000 off. And here's a new Ford F-150, get up to $7,000 off. Friends and neighbors pricing, plus make no payments until next year. It's Giant Worthington Ford.
In your home, you will see many firsts. First pets and first dates. Whether you're looking for your first or last home, you want to partner with a first choice lender to make securing a mortgage as easy as possible for you. Home buyers have relied on Academy Mortgage for customized home loan solutions and responsible and honest mortgage service for over 25 years. Make Academy your first choice lender.
Well, howdy, I'm Nick Worthington, Ford Giant, Worthington Ford. And right now, you can get friends and neighbors pricing automatically on nearly every new vehicle in stock. That's the official pricing set by Ford. Take a look. Here's a new Ford Escape, get up to $4,000 off. Here's a new Ford Expedition, get up to $6,000 off. And here's a new Ford F-150, get up to $7,000 off. Friends and neighbors pricing, plus make no payments until next year. It's Giant, Worthington Ford.
It's hard being claustrophobic.
We can't even sleep in the same bed because of the lid.
I'm a mover. I've never liked... Which is why I was so happy. I could do my MRI, sitting, like this.
Take control of your position and comfort in a totally open-air MRI experience. Valley Upright Imaging.
They even stayed open late because of the sun.
High rollers, lashes, glamour, hair extensions, beauty. High rollers, 349-4247.
Senator Ted Stevens never received less than 66% of the vote. Then came the unpredictable shock of his 2008 re-election bid against former Congressman Nick Begich's son, Mark Begich.
In the general election, Alaska Independence Party candidate Bob Byrd took over 13,000 conservative votes away from Stevens.
What they did to him is criminal. They just wanted a feather in the hat, and I never will forgive the FBI for that, because the state lost a great leader, and it's been hard to replace him.
Ted Stevens loved the Senate. He loved serving there.
It was a sad thing because you not only defeated him, but he wouldn't have been on that plane. This Congress was in session. I lost a close friend.
Ted Stevens had been an unstoppable powerhouse. He took office in 1968 and became the longest-serving Republican senator in history. No one could have predicted that Stevens' career was about to come to a dramatic end.
Dear friend, good team, really dedicated to Alaska, which has made it easy for me, and we always worked together and across, I worked with these, he worked with these, and we try to get something done for the state of Alaska.
I was saddened that he did not go out with as high a reputation as I held him in, and I think he did wonderful things for the state. He loved Alaska. He really cared about this place.
After my father's plane went down, was one of the first people to call us and talk to the family. He was always there for Alaskans.
The outcome of the 2008 Senate race was a foregone conclusion when Mark Begich made the call to Stevens, advising him of his intention to run.
Mark realized that it could be a very positive and respectful campaign. He knew Ted, Ted knew him. We knew how the outcome would probably be. He thought he was going to lose. He and I both had a conversation about it.
When I decided to run, a lot of people, they kind of rewrite history sometimes. They think, oh, he got in because of that. I got in before that was all news or interest to anybody or anyone knew anything about it. I think what I saw with Ted Stevens at that point was he had been there a long time, done a lot of great things for Alaska, but I think the state was moving in a much different direction, and I think that the ability for Alaska and also the delegation in the sense of how we would fit over the next several years in the sense of seniority and other things was very important. I think there was a transition time, and so I thought, it was a good opportunity to at least get my ideas out there.
Federal corruption charges were made against Stevens, who demanded a trial at the earliest possible date.
Much to our surprise, some weeks later, and I make it clear, that was the Bush administration's Justice Department. It was their Attorney General that went in there and did that. And it was a stunning, stunning shock to us to see that.
Ted thought that if he had the trial right now, he could prove he was innocent. Well, a Republican in Washington, D.C., he's going to get convicted if he was Jesus Christ himself.
Then as it started to evolve, some of the issues around him, it became very clear to us in the campaign that we were not going to have that as part of our campaign. There was a lot of noise elsewhere, but we knew in all my interviews and activity, we showed the respect to Ted Stevens, but we moved on and talked about our campaign.
He did have that very, large issue, and that was what was presented to the voters.
Polling indicated it was close always. Never indicated that we were at such a place that we would win outright. And really, when we saw the polling at the end of the election, reflecting that conviction, we thought we were going to lose.
The gentleman's race took an ugly turn as outsiders began to poke their nose into Alaska's business.
That was a very little activity, but it started to just kind of evolve, and it got, in some ways crazier as the campaign moved on. And then to augment that, here we are running a Senate race, and then on top of that, a presidential race is happening. And at one point, it was clear in the polls that Obama could potentially be very close in Alaska. And then Sarah Palin entered their equation, and it threw that all up in the air, which of course created more stir in the Alaska political arena. And it was an interesting time, to say the least. Unpredictable, really.
A Washington, D.C. jury found Stevens guilty 8 days before the election.
Do you think that you can be reelected at this point?
Absolutely.
Why would the people of Alaska elect you now?
Ask them. I know they will.
In a very important way, Senator Ted Stevens was exactly on point in his assessment of the convictions of the people he represented for generations.
Ted was many things, but he really knew Alaska.
We were crushed in the absentee ballots following the conviction.
What happened on the indictment was the first stage, right? So he got indicted, poll numbers went up, people were excited. The worst case scenario was honestly him getting convicted the week before, and it was on a Wednesday. He arrives back in, he goes to the airport hangar where there's hundreds of people. Every TV station covers it and shows this incredible celebration, excitement.
The sympathy for Ted after the conviction was overwhelming, and it was reflected in polling, daily polling, and it was also reflected in those actual vote totals. You can measure the change that occurred in the population.
When that excitement kicked in, it motivated his people, which was contrary to if you asked any pundit in Washington would think. They thought, oh, this is the greatest thing. And I'm thinking, you're insane. I said, this is Alaska. We hate you people back in Washington. You're always telling us what to do, and this is some scheme by you to take down our senator.
Had he been convicted a week earlier, Mark would have lost. Ted Stevens would have won that election.
But fate wasn't finished weaving the web of this election. As the numbers started coming in over the days and weeks after the election, the positions reversed.
When you look at the data of early voting versus in-person voting, the voting of election day, he won election day. He lost early voting, people who had not seen all that excitement.
With Obama promising to stop the fighting and Stevens promising more C-17s and F-22s, the ballots came in from the bases in a way that caught everyone off guard.
He said, look at these military numbers, military base, and they were pretty dramatic, like 300 to 170 or something. And I said, we got beat pretty bad. He says, no, you actually won that. That's when I knew we won the race. The game was over. There's no way he could win based on that data, because it told us that we did something that a Democrat has not done in this state, win the military bases.
The reversal left many Alaskans scratching their heads, not able to understand the roller coaster ride their senatorial race had taken.
When the first votes came in and we saw that we were still really reasonably close, Mark asked me what the final total would be. Mark didn't believe.
I had gotten a call just before that from my brother Tom, who'd done an analysis, and he's very good at the numbers every election I've ever done. And he estimated that we would win in the range of about 3,600 to 4,000 votes. We would reverse the trend to almost an exact opposite.
Bottom line was I was 50 votes off in the end, so it was kind of fun.
Once it was determined that the military, which is a transient population, had opted against Stevens, thoughts were that the Alaska Native population would demonstrate strong support for an elder they had honored and respected for decades.
He knew the numbers would never fall back because the only votes left outstanding were rural Alaska. And everyone said, oh, but Ted Stevens is strong in rural Alaska. I remind you, in rural Alaska, children and grandchildren are named after my father. That's important to people, and that matters at a deeper and deeper level. Mark beat Ted Stevens in rural Alaska substantially.
No doubt there was the memory of another baggage who left a legacy that had been carried forward for generations in rural Alaska, the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act.
This belief that, and it's a cultural issue also, this transition of elder to the next generation. And they, I think, saw part of that. They also saw, for the first time in many years, someone who was running that could actually help perform on these commitments. And wasn't a political commitment, was a personal commitment to what their issues are. Very similar to what Ted Stevens said. He had a personal commitment to rural Alaska, not a political commitment.
Why would you replace somebody that can do so much for Alaska with a greenhorn? And whether you like Mark or not, and I don't dislike him, I like him.
I still thought, and still do, and will always think it, that Alaska was going through a generational shift. In all due respect to Senator Stevens, you know, part of what we do in Alaska is think about the next generation. And, you know, seniority is important, but building the next seniority is as important. That is why he became a senator. That is why he got appointed by Wally Hickel over some of the true and tried politicians of that day, because Wally Hickel knew that he was a young man and could build the seniority necessary for our state in a small delegation.
Focused on the distraction of the criminal allegations that offended the honor he had invested a lifetime in demonstrating, Stevens missed the quiet shift of those who believed it was time for him to pass the torch.
I think what was missing was this transformation that was occurring that he or his people disconnected from. And I think, you know, it was a shock.
And then, just as remarkably, before sentencing, the conviction was effectively vacated. The indictment was dismissed after a Justice Department probe found evidence of gross prosecutorial misconduct.
In the end, he was exonerated after those convictions.
That was a crime. You know, he wasn't guilty of anything.
I think illegal actions against the legislative branch from the executive branch was a criminal act myself.
The statesman who was affectionately called Uncle Ted died in 2010 when his plane crashed just north of Dillingham.
We all know Ted, and history will write itself on him.
I've always admired his fight and fire for Alaska.
There were lots and lots of years of good service there, and so many things in Alaska came to Alaska because of Ted Stevens, his influence, his love for this place. And it's pretty hard to just discount all that.
His death was tragic. The way that he died, so similar to the way my dad died.
High rollers, lashes, glamour, hair extensions, beauty. High rollers, 349-4247.
I can make that shot, Daddy.
Hi, I'm Sabrina from Vito's Auto Sales. You may have seen me grow up throughout the years on my dad's car commercials. We are locally owned and have been in business for over 25 years. We stand by what we sell and offer a limited warranty on most vehicles. At Vito's, we specialize in bruised credit, no credit, and good credit. With over $2 million in inventory in 2 locations, you'll be driving your car home today. Vito's Auto Sales.
Where you're treated like family.
Snoring can be a sign of a medical condition called sleep apnea. Left untreated, this can lead to serious medical consequences. The good news, diagnosis can be performed in your own home, no matter where you are in Alaska. Call us now for more information or visit us at alaskasleepdoctor.com.
If you or your partner snores, remember Dr. Krellick fixes snoring.
In 1999, I was diagnosed with meningococcal meningitis. I had my legs amputated at the knee and my hands amputated at the forearm. Bacterial meningitis can be prevented. Get vaccinated.
Well, well, if it isn't the belle of the ball.
Gentlemen, you look well.
What's new, Flo?
Well, a Name Your Price tool went missing last week.
Name your what now?
It gives you coverage options based on your budget. I just hope whoever stole it knows that it only works at progressive.com.
So you can't use it to just buy stuff? I'm sorry, Gustav. We have to go back to the pet store. He's gonna meet us there.
The Name Your Price tool, still only at progressive.com.
Save time, money, and gas at Fred Meyer. What's on your list today?
Alaska is known for having statesmen of character and also for having politicians who are characters. Few things capture the voters' attention more than when an example of each run against each other in a race for Alaska's seat in the U.S. Senate.
In 1996, Democratic senatorial candidate Teresa Obermeyer drew national attention for her erratic behavior. During the campaign, she was served a 1-month prison sentence. Afterwards, she took to trailing Senator Ted Stevens, wearing a prisoner's outfit and once dragging a ball and chain behind her.
You announced to a room full of people I was stalking you, calling me by name and upsetting my daughter. Could you respond, sir, or do you have Alzheimer's?
Senator Stevens, you have a minute for a second response.
I think, Ms. Obermeyer, we've gone through this before. You appeared at almost every event that I was at for several years to ask me a stupid question about your husband's continuing to be able to fail the bar, to pass the bar. He was not able to pass the bar. You somehow would blame me on that. It's unfortunate. I wish you'd go find some help. I think you need help, Mrs. Obermeyer.
Obermeyer was able to fly to Washington, D.C. and meet with President Bill Clinton as the Democratic nominee for Alaska's U.S. Senate seat. Please stick with us. We'll be right back.
Black Friday is right around the corner. Expect to see a lot of phony sales. Stores offering 40, 50, 60% off. Off of what? Some made-up inflated price? They want you to believe that there will never be a sale that great again. At Bailey's Furniture, we won't play those games with you. We want everyone to get our honest, low pricing without any hassle. So if running around town on the busiest shopping day of the year doesn't sound like fun to you, stop by Bailey's Furniture any day. And always get our lowest price. Get Buddy's price.
At Quality Auto Sales, we do things differently. We let our top quality vehicles and great prices speak for themselves.
If you're in the market for a truly exceptional used vehicle, start by visiting our website at qualityautoak.com. Did you know that we buy vehicles too? We pay top dollar on the spot, whether it's paid for or not.
So come into Quality Auto Sales, 73rd and the Old Seward Highway for a hassle-free car shopping experience.
Quality Auto Sales, a simpler way to shop, a better way to buy.
For a limited time, you can carry out a Sicily's pizza for free. Bring home the flavor with Sicily's carry-out special. Buy any pizza, any size, and get a second pizza of equal or lesser value for free every Tuesday and Wednesday. Whatever style you like, regular crust, thin crust, or stuffed crust. Loaded with pure mozzarella cheese and a choice of all the toppings you want. Call 333-8000 or save 20% by ordering online at SicilysPizza.com.
3-8,000. This ability you have is a gift. Here they call you the Scarlet Speedster. What about you? Crimson Comet. Zoom killed a lot of people in my world. Let's go see what you're made of. Flash.
At Quality Auto Sales, we do things differently. We let our top quality vehicles and great prices speak for themselves.
If you're in the market for a truly exceptional used vehicle, start by visiting our website at qualityautoak.com. Did you know that we buy vehicles too? We pay top dollar on the spot, whether it's paid for or not.
So come into Quality Auto Sales, 73rd and the Old Seward Highway for a hassle-free car shopping experience.
Quality Auto Sales, a simpler way to shop, a better way to buy.
For a limited time, you can carry out a Sicily's pizza for free. Bring home the flavor with Sicily's carry-out special. Buy any pizza, any size, and get a second pizza of equal or lesser value for free every Tuesday and Wednesday. Whatever style you like, regular crust, thin crust, or stuffed crust. Loaded with pure mozzarella cheese and a choice of all the toppings you want. Call 333-8000 or save 20% by ordering online at SicilysPizza.com.
3-8,000. This ability you have is a gift. Here they call you the Scarlet Speedster. What about you? Crimson Comet. Zoom killed a lot of people in my world. Let's go see what you're made of. Flash.
I really didn't know meningitis could lead to what I went through. I was not vaccinated before I got sick, and my legs below the knee were amputated, and so were my fingers. Get vaccinated.
All in all, the Alaska Independence Party has tipped the balance in many important Alaskan political races. Its founder, Joe Vogler, disappeared just a few weeks before he was scheduled to speak on behalf of Alaskan independence in front of the United Nations. A year later, Alaskans were saddened to learn his murdered body was found wrapped in a blue tarp, sealed in duct tape, in a Fairbanks gravel pit.
As the ripples start to fade that were generated from the political titans of Alaska's past, we wanted to make sure that a new generation of voters understood the impact that one person and one vote makes in Alaska.
Thank you for
joining us.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that wasn't dull.